Hello, fun people. I'm Isaac Carlson, and on Following Dreams, I'm focused on exploring the stories of people who are following their passions and achieving their dreams. I want to help inspire you to pursue what you love by hearing how others have done it. And of course, if you'd like to join this magical community, then consider telling someone about it, that you've been enjoying this show, and joining the Ultimate Fun People community on Patreon, where we talk on Discord. I make behind the scenes videos, and we are now starting to write scripts as a community. Links to everything are down below. Today, we're speaking to a man who has spent decades in animation, starting as an animator on The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, and moving on to projects like The Jungle Book 2, The Three Musketeers, and Stitch Has a Glitch. Through the years, he's done everything from character design to storyboard work and even writing, but most importantly, he's worked at Disney Television Animation as a director for the beloved show Tangled The Series. Welcome, Tom Caulfield.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It was a long time coming, and I was super excited that you were willing to come on and be able to answer some questions today and share about what your journey was like.
Yeah. As I say, the guests you've had on before, like some pretty big shoes to fill. So yeah, I'll see what I can do.
Mhm. Well, to start us off, a question I always like to ask is, what are you passionate about? What gets you really excited about everything that you get to work on?
Whoa. Each project has something different in it. I
Hmm.
feel. Um Again, going back to when I first began, like on Bambi 2, it was so interesting to see the locomotion of this animal, this four-legged animal, which is something I've never really delved into.
Hmm.
So to do all that and to learn about that, that was super interesting, and that's what made me love that project all the more. I mean, I think that's one of my favorite shows to work on, and
Hmm.
just because I was so invested in it. Um, I mean, Tangled, it was this character who just was totally shut off from the world, and she's experiencing all that. So that was super interesting to discover alongside that character. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think each project has its own special little hook that just grabs you.
Yeah,
So, and I've been pretty lucky in the ones I've been jumped on. There's always something there that grabs. So
sure. Yeah, that there's always like a creative experience that you get to go through in whatever you
yeah,
work on. Hmm.
yeah, because otherwise it's just a job then if you're not invested and if you're not bringing stuff to the table. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's nice to find stuff and it just elevates it. So
Yeah, absolutely. I can completely understand where you're coming from with that. That you want to
awesome.
be able to be excited about your work, and yeah, that
Yeah,
it's the new changes for all of it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Uh,
yeah.
so what were you like growing up, and what was your relationship like with animation early into your life?
I came to animation very late.
Uh huh.
I came to animation very, very late. And if I'm honest, animation wasn't a route that I was going to take initially.
Hmm.
Um, I was going to do business studies and mathematics, and
Hmm.
that's not me. That's not me. So again, the other avenue then was art. So I ended up doing art, and it panned out. I was okay at it. I could hold my own at it. So
Hmm.
I sort of pursued that a lot more. And so yeah, so all the movies, the animated movies, were kind of lost on me. Like I'd known that Don Bluth was in Ireland, and I know they made The American Tale and The Land Before Time in Ireland.
Sure.
But yeah, most of the movies were kind of over my head. I mean, I don't think I really saw one until, would it be Beauty and the Beast?
Hmm.
So it was not something that I would gravitate to initially.
Sure.
But then once I was in that world, I loved it. I
Hmm.
loved that. You couldn't get me out of it. I still love it, and I'm so happy that I was probably not the best at mathematics or business studies. So I had to go the other way.
Yep. Uh, Understandable. I majored in math in undergrad actually, but now I'm doing the video creation online thing. So it's you never know where
See,
life's gonna
there's
go.
something to it.
Hmm.
See, yeah. Ooh.
Oh.
But then it was fun because, as I say, most of the movies passed me.
Hmm.
It was fun to then go back and discover them all.
Yeah.
It was like I probably wouldn't have appreciated them as much. Like kid me would not have appreciated them as much
Hmm.
as older me. So bonus for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, when when you get older, you get like a new lens when you see the films. Like you get to
Yes.
really start pulling back the layers that you didn't really notice. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas as I say, as if I was a kid watching I mean Sleeping Beauty, I'm just gonna say Sleeping Beauty.
Hmm.
But I can imagine as a kid watching that, I probably wouldn't have appreciated the craftsmanship in it.
Yeah.
But seeing it when I was older, my jaw just hit the floor. It was great. It was
Hmm.
fantastic. So
Hmm.
me.
So, what was going on in your life that made you realize that this was something that you might become passionate enough to pursue as a career? Was there like a definitive moment where everything began to click for you?
Hmm. I think it probably was that I'm no good at mathematics or business studies. It must have been that moment, and that
Hmm.
kind of spurred me on to do the art.
Hmm.
And I think that might have been it. Like there was no. I can't really pinpoint any defining moment. I
Hmm.
think it was just oh no, the panic. The panic. I'm not going to get into college because I'm failing at maths. So,
Hmm.
and as I say, I was okay at the old art. So I was maybe I can get by on this. So yeah, there wasn't one defining moment. So I think it was a load of little ones that just kind of pushed me in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah, that it was you found this thing that you were realizing that you were pretty good at and you're just like, "Oh, just keep shifting a little bit towards that."
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, just lean into that a bit more, and
Mhm.
yeah, and here I am now. So
Mhm.
hey,
All worked out.
yeah, phew.
Mhm. So So, what was the most difficult part of your journey when going through and getting a diploma in classical animation and leading up to when you actually started to get animation work?
Hmm. Oh, well, school and college will have its dramas, but I have to say that the people I met there were just fantastic. So if there were deadlines or any of that kind of stuff, we always rallied around each other to help each other out, and that was phenomenal.
Mhm.
So thankfully, because of that support group we had, there weren't many huge dramas. There
Mhm.
weren't any huge dramas. There was the odd panic here and there, but there was no real drama because, as I say, I think that the friends that we made there were just so helpful and so supportive. So yeah, in that respect, it wasn't difficult, if you know what I mean. The work was difficult, but the actual being there wasn't difficult.
Yeah.
The support group helped you through the difficult work, if you know what I mean.
Sure. Yeah.
It didn't make it, the friends didn't help you through the difficult work, which in the end wasn't too difficult because you had them friends around you. So it was really nice that way. So in a way, it wasn't super drama filled in college.
Yeah.
It wasn't. So it was nice. It was really good camaraderie, camaraderie that got you through any difficult time. So
Mm-hmm.
and then leading up to work, I see back home in Ireland, the Irish government is pretty good about supporting independent movies.
Mm-hmm.
And there was always somebody doing an independent movie, so you'd always take on a sequence here and there of a short film, and you'd learn that way. You'd learn to do your animation on the kind of alongside college work. So you were getting taught in college, and you were putting it into practice on these short films. So
Oh.
it was really, really cool and very, very collaborative. Um, but yeah, I think some of my first bits of animation were for them short films. Yeah, can't remember the name of them though. But yeah, so and again, I think as well that the community in Ireland, they made what would normally be difficult not difficult to tackle, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was really, really pleasant.
Sure.
I'm probably remembering it totally wrong, and I was probably like up to my eyes in work and knocking back cups of tea like nobody's business. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm thinking back now, it was really, really good, really good.
Yeah. Uh,
I think the most difficult decision would then be to move country. I think that was probably the most difficult decision,
oh, okay.
which again for work. So it wasn't the actual act of animating; it was the act of as leaving that community. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was probably the hardest thing.
Yeah. And so what pulled you to the States? Was there a specific project, or was it just the opportunities that you were aware of?
I ended up in Australia first.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'd done Brother Bear 2 and Three Musketeers and Bambi
Mm-hmm.
2. And so, yeah, I ended up in Australia first. I was there for nearly 4 years. So, yeah, I think it was just an opportunity I couldn't pass up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's Disney.
Yeah.
So I just jumped at it. And yeah, it
Was
happened.
was it a difficult move to make? Did the culture feel radically different?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, from Ireland to Australia, it was different. It was different, and there was it was pretty easy visa wise to get to go to Ireland and Australia were pretty easy to travel to and from, like
Mm-hmm.
visa wise. So when I think about it now, I actually went over with some friends,
Oh.
and so again, it was all supportive and we could help each other out. And so I wasn't totally on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I had friends there as well who were experiencing Australia as well. So yeah, it was really cool. It was
Mm-hmm.
really cool.
Yeah, you still had the support structure to some extent
Yeah,
around you while you got
yeah,
to move on to Disney.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I'm probably remembering it all wrong, but however,
Yeah, time can make any difficult task seem a lot easier in retrospect.
yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, it wasn't Disney I ended up in first.
Oh.
But Disney in a way. It was on the Proud Family.
Oh.
So yeah, some friends of mine, we worked on the Proud Family together,
Hmm.
and then they went home, and then I went to Disney. That's
Okay.
how. So it was.
Yeah, so you were just working at one of the overseas studios that was helping with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's how it went. We went over for that, the Proud Family first,
Hmm.
and then yeah, I went on to Disney, and they went back home, and they ended up working in Brown Bag, which
Hmm.
does a lot of Irish animation as well. So
Hmm.
we were all still in the animation at that point.
Sure.
So
And so what was it fun to work on the Proud Family, and how was it different going from like working on like a TV show to then working on more of these other films, or like starting to work on the Disney Toon Studios films?
yeah, no, working on Proud Family was so much fun.
Hmm.
Again, it was a TV schedule, so it was the first time I was ever on a TV schedule.
Hmm.
As I was saying, the shorts that we used to work on in Ireland were they had like schedules and all, but they weren't as compact as TV schedules. And I'm remembering stuff from Ireland now that because I was in Cartoon Saloon for a bit as well. But anyway, but yeah, the TV schedule was so compact,
Hmm.
so it was good to learn the shortcuts that they use in animation to make it look good, but still be efficient with work and
Mm.
their time and all that kind of stuff. So it was good to know all that and get through that. And then transitioning that over onto the Disney Toon side it was it was a nice transition because then when you go to Disney Toons, where the schedule wasn't as compact as TV, but I still had that TV mentality, so
Hmm.
it didn't seem like a huge mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Because I learned all the tricks and the shortcuts and the how to keep something looking really good, but in a smart, efficient way. I
Hmm.
was able to carry that over onto the Disney Toons movies, so it was good. I'm glad I went that way first to do the
Hmm.
shortcuts first because if I was to do okay, I've got 3 weeks to do the scene, and you take your time, and then you faff about, and then if you were to go into TV, you go, oh, you panic. So I'm glad I done it the TV way, and then the Disney Toons way. So
Hmm.
it was a nice transition.
Yeah, that makes sense. Every time I've heard someone talk about television animation, especially, it just seems like such a difficult schedule to keep up with.
Yeah, yeah. There's and some shows are each show is different. Each show
Hmm.
is different. So I now that's one thing I can't remember. Like, I can't remember the schedule for Proud Family. But like Tangled the series, that had a quick turnaround, like 8 weeks to turn out a show. It was really, really quick.
Wow.
Actually, I say 8 weeks, but that was actually luxurious compared to other shows in the
Hmm.
building at the time. So yeah, each show is different. Each
Hmm.
show is different.
And when you say 8 weeks, like start to finish, does that mean from like the initial episode conception to it being like ready to be put on TV?
Oh no, that's mainly just the story.
Oh,
The
okay.
storyboards and getting it locked down into animatics. So
Mm-hmm.
we try and turn all that around in 8 weeks. Well, as I say, different for each show,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, we try and just the story part, just the
Yeah.
storyboard,
Yeah.
and just making sure that the script works. And again, editors getting their chance to work their magic.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you had the opportunity to work on a plethora of the Disney Toon studio films. What was your experience like being uh, bringing established characters to life like Pumbaa, Simba, and the hyenas from The Lion King, Mickey's enemy Pete, and Rono from Bambi 2?
I loved Ronald. He
Mm-hmm.
was awesome. It was it was again so much fun, so much fun. I I think my favorite. I just mentioned that Bambi 2. I think was my favorite. I think it was another side of Bambi that we hadn't seen,
Mm-hmm.
and that was interesting. Because we were broken up into teams, and I was on Ronald, and I was on the Ronald and Bambi team. Um, so they were fantastic characters to work on. Again, seeing different aspects. I know Ronald was only in Bambi, the original Bambi, like blink and you miss him, and then Bambi was an adult through most of it as well. So it was good to explore the younger sides of them and to
Mm-hmm.
do all that. So that was it was a tough act to follow, but I think what Bambi done right was Bambi, you can't match that really artistically or animation wise. I mean, it was just so gorgeous. So I think what Bambi 2 done was okay, we know we can't match the original Bambi.
Mm-hmm.
We make it its own film. And they gave it its own voice and it had its own voice. So that was, I think it stood on its own more so than just trying to be a copy. And I
Sure.
think that worked in its favor. Um, so yeah, and then Bambi is just iconic. You can't beat Bambi.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then you get a chance to work on Mickey Mouse and Pete.
Mm-hmm.
So that was mind blowing as well. When I sit and think of it now, it was wow.
Yeah, there's not that
Yeah,
many Mickey Mouse films, so like the Three Musketeers was like one of the few you could really turn to.
yeah, yeah. And again, I think what that was, they just let them be cartoon characters. I mean, they let Donald Duck run into walls and just be a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that again, that was letting the characters just dictate what should happen. And I thought it was a better movie for it.
Mm-hmm.
I really did. It was different and it was unique and it had its own voice. And yeah, to work on something like that was really, really cool. I mean, the deleted some of the there was a lot deleted in that one, and some of it was hysterical.
Ah.
I mean, it was hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
So very cartoony, very old school,
Mm-hmm.
but no, it was. But what they ended up with, I think, was very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So yeah, working with all them characters was something. I mean, at the time when you're doing it, you're just going, "Oh, I've got to get this done." You don't really let it sink in. It's only once it's all done and ready and out there,
Mm-hmm.
do you stand back and you say, "Oh wow, that was pretty awesome."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you're in the midst of it, you're just going, "Oh, I've got to do this and blah blah blah." But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's after the fact is when it hits you the most that you've worked on these iconic characters.
Sure, sure. Eh, yeah, and that was one of the things that I found very interesting about your your like filmography that you've worked on is I knew you from Tangled the series, but it was so cool to be able to know going into this that I'd get to talk to someone who worked on all of those films, because typically there's not that many people that like that I'm aware of that actually like took part on those films, you know? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, because as I was saying, that all happened in Australia. Most of them, a good majority of them happened in Australia. So a lot of Australian crew then went on to other animation studios, and I can't remember them offhand. I think Animal Logic is one. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them stayed in Australia. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was much pollination between the Australian and then the States. So yeah, so there'd be very few and far between.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm just an itinerant. I just go all over the world. I'm just whatever.
mhm. You went to many different studios, many different experiences, and that was the next question that I wanted to ask you about. Could you talk about your career after 2006 when you completed Brother Bear 2? This is where it seemed, from what I found out about you, that you began to take on a variety of new roles at many different companies. You were a story artist on A Man in Ink. You created and designed a TV show called The H-Files. You did some freelance work, and you spent time at DreamWorks Animation, Warner Brothers Animation, and Studio Okonami. What was the path to all of these different roles like?
So when I left Australia, I went back to Ireland,
Oh,
and um, that's where I worked in. I'm probably remembering this all wrong, but I ended up in France for a while. I worked on The Illusionist and T12 and a lot of French movies, Zarafa.
mm-hmm.
Um, but the thing was then, the European animation industry is it's not as big and it's not as segmented.
Mm-hmm.
So one person would have to do multiple jobs. So like I could be okay, I've got to do these storyboards, but I've also got to design this character. So you wear many hats.
Okay.
You wear many hats. Whereas like the bigger studios said, okay, you're an animator, off you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you do. Whereas the European animation industry was, okay, we need these storyboards, but can you also design these things? So when I went back over to Europe, went back home, and that opportunity came up. Like if I had to do storyboards, I had to design characters and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the multiple roles come from. Um, and then again with the Irish Film Board, who again fostered this animation. They like I pitched a short to them and they bid it. So I ended up directing and writing and my own short. So it was again because of that you have to wear many hats as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
was designing and animating. So yeah, well, the European animation industry is a lot different
Mm-hmm.
to other studios like Australia and here in the States. So it's you wear many hats. You wear
Sure.
many hats. And hence all the titles.
I whenever like when I sometimes don't feel like I fully appreciate how large of projects are taken on by feature animation at Disney and Pixar, where people have such a specific role that they can do that day in and day out, even though there's like there's so few films being made. Like these films are so massive that it's just like there's such a short turnaround in between films getting ready on the docket. Whereas the way that you're describing how Europe works makes a lot more sense in my mind, where it's like, oh, it makes sense that like a small team does lots of different things. So when you're not working on one thing, you just do the other thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really, really cool that way. And again, it still keeps that collaborative spirit alive as well. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, just look at Annecy, like this year. I mean, it's all the projects right there. That just speaks to how prolific they are as well in Europe. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
So what when you started trying all of these different types of roles, did directing stand out to you specifically at all, or were you just kind of enjoying taking them all in?
Hmm. I think I just enjoyed it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't saying, okay, like I like animation, so I want to be a director. I don't think it was like that. I think it was gradual with all the roles I had been in.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to do them, and I think that led to directing. Um, but yeah, directing wasn't something that I had laser focus. I want to be a director. I think it was the steps. Again, I was led to it.
Mm-hmm.
Much like art. But no, I think all the steps there just nudged me the right direction.
Sure, sure. Hmm. So how did you eventually then become involved with Tangled the series? And it also sounds like, how did you make the move to the United States to be involved with Tangled the series?
So yes, I came over to work originally for DreamWorks
Mm-hmm.
on as an animator on Me and My Shadow. But then we all know what happened with that movie. Let's say no more about that. So I ended up in Disney then, storyboarding on, oh, I can't remember. It was Planes?
Oh, okay.
And then I ended up on doing a lot of Tinkerbell shorts.
Mm.
And and a few that got made. The Fawn song of The Never Beast that got
Mm-hmm.
made. So that was super awesome. So I ended up there, and then I went from storyboarding there to go on to Tangled, which because it was funny that the Disney Toon studio was there, and right out the door was the TV studio. So like we could just walk between each building. So it was super cool, super
Mm-hmm.
cool. So yeah, that's how I ended up. I ended up over here for DreamWorks initially.
Wow.
So
Very
yeah, it
cool.
was wild ride. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm back at DreamWorks now. Full circle.
Yep. Yep, for sure. And I definitely want to hear about what you're working on there now. But before I want to say, talk about Tangled the series, especially since that's how I got introduced with you specifically. What was it like to shift to become a television animation director, which you handled many episodes throughout 3 seasons of the show? You really got to like take the lead on a lot of the story of that show.
Yeah, that was I have to say, one thing I'm noticing as I'm talking now is the camaraderie on
Mm-hmm.
each show has been on each project. So I've been on has been fantastic. And I can say the same for Tangled. And it was the camaraderie that helped everyone through that. As I say, the schedule was nearly 8 weeks, but it was the camaraderie that really cemented everyone's love for the movie. Sorry, the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what helped us all through. Yeah, I think it was the camaraderie.
Yeah.
But some awesome artists, really awesome artists. You know,
Hmm.
really like, and I don't mean artists. I include writers and editorial and model designers and character. They were all phenomenal, phenomenal. So yeah, the camaraderie.
Yeah. It, you've had a lot of experiences where a lot of talented people have gotten to help support whatever project that you're working on, which is very important when you're doing all these crazy crazy different things, going down different types of storylines and everything. I mean, Tangled the
Yeah.
series seemed like a big step forward in trying to tell a good story in a Disney Channel animated show.
Yeah, we again I have to I can't mention like how awesome Tangled is without mentioning Mercury,
Mm-hmm.
who animated it as well. I mean, we threw some crazy stuff at them. Really crazy, difficult stuff, and they were able to do it phenomenally. So it was, yeah. I mean, we pushed the story, they pushed the animation, the songs, everything was really, really amped up to the max on that one. So,
Mm-hmm.
again, I think people just rose to the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking.
So, what was your role in guiding the overarching story that existed in Tangled the series that was created by the showrunner Chris Sonnenberg? How did you fit into developing that, especially like early on when you came on?
Hmm. There was a lot of stuff already set in stone
Mm-hmm.
that we weren't going to change. So it was there was one thing I'm very proud of, the incantation song.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what Rick, Jace, or anyone says. It was my idea to have her hair turned black. I contributed that. That was my idea. I'm holding my hands up for it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was it's a lot of little stuff like that that we had a input in, and it wasn't just me that had the input. It was the all the story crew as well had input saying, "Oh, but if Varian says this line, it will mean that it will connect to such and such and such thing." So I think we all had that responsibility to plus the scripts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that would have been our main role in it. It was just there was a lot of little things that we were able to change or to tweak,
Mm-hmm.
but in and around them bits that could not be changed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a load of little things that were. I was lucky enough to look at some of the color scripts, and oh, should this room be blue? Just make it all red, and little um aesthetic kind of things.
Uh-huh.
A lot of that more, and because as I say, there were points in the story that could not change.
Yep.
So yeah, and yeah, as I say, the whole crew were involved in that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when I was I interviewed Ricky, uh, and
Hi,
he brought it up.
Ricky.
Yeah, which was super cool. And he was like, and I talked to Chris too, which was super cool. But Ricky was more like later on. I think after the show was even done and everything. So it was super cool to be able to chat with him, and he gave the perspective of a writer being able to like shape the scripts and presenting it and everything like that. So yeah, it sounds like from you got to like look at every piece of what was being made in each of the episodes you looked over and to add the bits that would build up the overarching story.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, I know I'm a very I like cinematic. Um, pieces and
Hmm.
sequences. So I was able to bring that to the table as well. So it was really cool. It was
Hmm.
really cool. Yeah, as I say, it was again group effort from everyone.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely can tell in your episodes that when you say that you pushed the cinematic boundary, I'm like, oh, I could definitely tell that.
Bye bye, Tower.
Yep. It's- yeah, yeah. It like there's a lot of moments in those episodes that you got to help work on where it's like this is like iconic that are like meaningful moments for people that enjoyed the movie. For example, like the black hair transforming was like a real indicator to me that it was like this is something that's like really taking itself seriously when it's telling this story that they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. It was, and again, my idea. Just so everyone know. No, again,
Mhm.
it was that cinematic visual storytelling as well. I mean that made me think that what if why don't we try this? So yeah, it was that sort of visual storytelling that really appealed to me in doing that. But yeah, again, these were all some points that the writers had already like. I worked a lot with Ricky on
Mhm.
them on was it that show? Well, I know the Tower one for sure. So yeah, it was really cool to get all them big set pieces, big set pieces.
For sure, for sure. So, what was it like creating the show and seeing fans like react to it and begin to like theorize on it? What were there any things that like moments that you really enjoyed seeing the fans like react to the show or have theories about that you wish could have happened or that actually came to happen? What was your experience like with that?
That was wild.
Mm-hmm.
That was super crazy. And again, because we were in the thick of it, we probably didn't realize the impact it was having.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see all that information getting flooded in there. And just, wow, this is something. I mean, we're all working on it because we all know it's something, but then to have it validated by the public was wild, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved seeing people tearize about it, and because I knew what was happening, I knew what was about to happen. I was just, oh, they're gonna love this. They're gonna love this. Oh, I'm sure they're gonna hate this, guys. But so it was good to kind of just sometimes think of that as you're working away, and
Mm-hmm.
then when that episode aired and you see it, and when it happens and people react to it, oh, it was so cool. It really was. The fans were fantastic. I like they were amazing. They
Mm-hmm.
really were. They really got behind it and they knew they understood it, and yeah, that was a highlight in
Mm-hmm.
working on the show. The crew, or sorry, the fans, they
Mm-hmm.
were amazing. The fandom, really, they were brilliant, brilliant.
uh this was definitely a show where it was kind of the first time that I felt a like a fan base was growing as I was watching it, which was something I'd never really experienced before. Most of the things that I've like really like care about and resonate with are like decades old, so it feels like there's like a big base around it. But this was something that felt
Yeah,
like really niche that was growing. It was really cool to see come together, and it's always awesome to hear that the crew behind it also felt that grow over time.
yeah, yeah. It was great. I mean, I know we had a wall just dedicated to fan art by the fandom. It was really cool,
Hmm.
really cool. Because I know there was excuse me, like the people kind of take it too far and all that kind of stuff with fandoms, but I didn't see any of that with the Tangled fandom. And
Hmm.
I mean, if there were, it was just a blip because I thought that the fandom was fantastic,
Hmm.
really, really good. And yeah, like for it to just constantly grow like that it felt okay, we're doing something right. We're doing something
Yeah. Uh-huh. So, were there any characters that stuck out to you that you really resonated with? And do you hope that those characters' stories get to continue in the future?
right. I'm gonna say Andrew, just to rattle the cages of all the fandom. They know. But yeah, no, I love Max. Max
Mm.
is my favorite. I love drawing Max. He was fantastic. And yeah, I'd say Max was probably one of the characters I'd really like to see more of.
Hmm.
And Andrew. I liked Andrew. I thought he was awesome. I really enjoyed him. I thought he was a slimy, you love to hate him kind of guy.
Oh yeah.
I liked him. So sorry, Tangled fan.
Yeah. He was like a dark Eugene. Like, what if
Yeah,
Eugene would have just grown out his hair even longer?
he was such a dork. Such a
Yeah.
dork. So yeah,
Mhm.
Max or Andrew. Max and Andrew. There's a show right there. And Lance. Lance as well. Lance was
Oh
awesome.
yeah. Uh-huh. Lance was definitely I loved how he was introduced and he didn't have to go down the dark path. Like he just got to be fun. He got to be a good
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah. He was always a gem whenever he was on screen.
Hmm.
Always. So yeah, maybe the Andrew Max and Lance show.
There we go. There we go. If if Cassandra can't have her own show, I mean, come on.
Yeah, what a cameo.
Yep. Oh. Well, Tangled the series has wrapped up though. Everyone can watch it on Disney Plus now, which is fantastic. There's no like paywalls or cable subscriptions now. It's just you can go on Disney Plus, which is amazing. But now you're back at DreamWorks Animation. What are you working on now, and where do you see your journey going in the future?
Oh, we just wrapped on Crudes 2,
Ooh.
and it's so good. It's so good. I
Uh
loved
huh.
it. I loved it. I thought it took what was good with the original and just goes bigger.
Ooh.
And there's some really good moments in it. Really good moments in it.
Hmm.
The next one I'm on, I don't know if I can speak about. I could because I don't know if it's been announced. So I'm not gonna say anything about that.
That's fair.
But
That's
I
fair.
did work on Spirit as well, which I
Ooh.
know has been announced, and that's looking really good. The animation is so good.
Mm.
Again, horses.
Yeah.
Come back to Max, horses.
Uh huh.
But yeah, it's so Spirit and Crudes too. So watch out for Crudes too.
Very cool. Very cool.
I think that's out in December. I don't know what's going to happen now with what's happening, but yeah, it was
Hmm.
due out in December.
Okay. Yeah.
So
That that
you good.
the first one at least. What didn't that have like Chris Sanders as one of the lead creative people of that? Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. No, I didn't start on Crew 2 from the beginning, so I don't
Hmm.
know the total, like who was involved in pre-production and all that kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
I don't know if he was still involved.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
So,
That's fair.
but
I
it's got that kind of heart in it. So,
Good, good. I'm very excited to hear it now. Now that you've hyped it up, I I love those like emotional stories. I love learning about all the lore and everything. I'm excited to see a continuation of it.
mm, yeah, and they take it in a really nice direction.
Awesome.
Really nice. So,
Well, finally, Tom, I want you to tell the listeners what you feel is the number one piece of advice that would help them follow their dreams, whatever that may be.
I would have fun first and foremost, and just don't be afraid. Just do it.
Mm.
That's what. Yeah, don't be afraid. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always an excuse. There's always something holding you back, but just do it. Try it out. If you don't like it, you can go back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just don't be afraid. That's what I'd say.
Hmm. Take the
And
leap.
have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it. Just don't be afraid and just have fun.
Hmm. That's fantastic advice. I really enjoy it. Sometimes you just need to take the next step forward and see where it takes you. So I think
Yeah,
that's great. Uh, thank
yeah.
you. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, Tom. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to speak to you tonight. It was
Thank you
super cool.
so much. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. So
Mhm.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a so cool to be able to hear a little bit behind the scenes and what it took for you to get to the place where you are now.
Yeah, I'm probably remembering it all wrong, but it's, it's kind of there.
Yeah.
Kind of there.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, it pieced together pretty well. It had a logical
Yeah,
through line.
yeah. It sort of flows. I'm sure people will start shouting at me as soon as they hear this, but
Hmm.
but no, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a lot of fun. To all of you who are listening, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast. And as I continue to share the stories of people who are following their passions and achieving their dreams, it'd mean a lot if you share this podcast with a friend. To all of you fun people who are out in the world, thank you so much for listening.